Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. Vamos a tener un buen show hoy. We're going to have a great show for you today. How are my peeps doing? All right, topics of discussion today is going to be pretty good. Let me get to first welcome all our peeps into the system. Let's go ahead and welcome our peeps on the chat. We've got in the house, Michael Ruddin won the race today. AVQ is in the house. Numero uno. From Brooklyn, New York, numero dos is Patrick Magner. Meow. How are you doing, Patrick? Haven't heard from you in 2 days. We also have Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Patrick is from Houston, Texas. And of course, Harry Denson is from Missouri City. He says, good afternoon, Egberto. Harry Denson Jr. here from Missouri City, Texas. Welcome. And in the chat, remember we missed the first few in Substack all the time because of how they work, the system works. But I want to welcome Don Buckster, John King, my humble opinion, he says, Kat and Susan Jagoda or Jagoda, depending on whether it's an English word or a Spanish word. I don't know. Anyway, we are going to have a good show for you today. What's in the show today? Do I know what's in the show today? Actually, I do. I have a Tariffs 101 that I want to play for you guys. I think it's an important piece. AVQ says, Substack people, come on by Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube so we can see your comments. You know, some people, what happens is that there's a real nice Substack application that a lot of people use on their phones. And that's why I think all won't come over to, let's say, YouTube or Facebook or the others, etc. But again, I am in the wrong screen, so I am going to have to do a little bit of magic here by moving things around a bit. Let's see. I didn't realize which screen was actually being controlled by the system, so now I've got to move things a little bit around. There it is. All right, there we go. That is what we're talking about. Okay. Title of the show today is, will Dems use the GOP-given weapon to stop the evil bill? Tariffs 101. And Musk leaves in failure. I think I want to tackle the Democrats first, right? We want to talk about, should we do it? Should we not? I think we should. So let's talk about it. Senate Democrats got a weapon from the Republicans, and here it goes. Senate GOP gives Dems a chance to tank Trump's budget bill. Will they take it? I wonder if they will. Given the high stakes of the budget bill, which we know the damage that it is intended to do to all MAGA, all working class Americans, you would think that Democrats would take that opportunity. Oh, wait a minute. Where is, okay, I need to get this over here. All right, to take that opportunity to do that, right? So, before I go, it seems like Michael has something to read here. Let's go ahead and do that. Welcome, Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia, and Lee Grant from Montgomery County. How are you doing? Esquire, a ludicrous new Supreme Court decision could grant Trump presidential power not seen since King George III for 237 years. We never thought it would come to this. The Supreme Court ruled in Trump versus Wilcox that the president firing the heads of executive agencies created by Congress should stand while their cases are adjudicated. even though by congressional mandate only Congress can dismiss them. The decision is ludicrous and dangerous. Political scientists say our flawed democracy has already slid to a fascist state. Trump has consolidated power, ignored federal judges' rulings and injunctions, deported people to offshore gulags and made them stateless, fired appointees who only Congress can revoke, and enable militarized police with immunity, while has backers in Congress and the Supreme Court stand with Trump. I told my audience several years ago, and I wish I could find that YouTube piece. I'll look for that YouTube piece where I pointed out that Republicans knew that they didn't stand a chance, that people don't like them. Anthony LeFranco, welcome aboard. Where are you from, Anthony LeFranco? And we have Steigen Bergen Greek. Welcome aboard. I want to find that Supreme Court piece that I did because I think it's important, especially now. And I want to show you all what it was that that was done. Let's see if I can find it. First of all, let me see if I can find it through YouTube. I may be able to find it through YouTube. I'm not sure yet. But the reason I want to find this, Republican and courts, because it is such an important U.S. Supreme Court. No time. It is time to neuter Republican. That's not it. Okay, I'll find it when I play the video, and then I'll come back and play. So I tell you what, instead of starting with what the Republicans can do, let's start with 101. Let's start with Tariffs 101, and then I'll come back and we'll do the other stuff. So bear with me as I get started with that. Here we go. There are reasons for tariffs. One good reasons would be to help a critical industry. Let's give an example. Let's just use steel as an example. China and other places could always make steel a lot cheaper than we make it. The question is, should we allow every single steel manufacturer to go out of business because other countries can make steel a lot cheaper? There are national security reasons why we would want to keep level of steel making know-how in the United States. And again, and that reason is, of course, we have industries, space industries, a lot of industries that are dependent on that. And if there is some sort of a supply chain issue, whether manufactured or not, it materially affects the country. So there are reasons that things like certain products you would want to have some level of tariffs to equalize the field to make sure that at least the know-how within that critical industry remains in your country. You also could have tariffs on specific products to correct for what a foreign country does to make their products cheaper. Let's say that country subsidizes all of its rubber manufacturing, right? That means that in a market system, that particular country would have given an unfair advantage to manufacture, let's say, rubber or whatever in that country. And in so doing, takes away the actual essence of what free marketing is all about. So one could see marginal tariffs on products from countries that actually falsely make those prices cheaper than they normally would be. And another reason would be for social reasons. Let's say some other country in Europe decided to start slave labor, child labor, or take advantage of foreigners who come into, or immigrants who come into that land, force them into working, which inherently makes the prices of that product cheaper because the labor is small or non-existent. That's a reason to actually have a tariff as well. And then there is the regressive reason for having tariffs, and that is simply having tariffs as a sales tax to raise money for the Treasury. And we'll see clearly that that is all Donald Trump really cares about. Donald Trump doesn't care about creating manufacturing back in the United States. Donald Trump doesn't really care about creating more jobs from manufacturing in the United States. And later, I will tell you why. How does tariffs actually work? When Donald Trump or anybody says we're throwing a tariff on China, you can't say you're throwing a tariff on China or a tariff on France or a tariff on Australia or anything like that. that makes absolutely no sense. You can say, I am charging a tariff on products from a particular country, so that I can say I'm putting, like what Donald Trump did and what Biden upheld. I am throwing a tariff on electric cars coming from China. That means that when an electric car leaves China and it reaches the American docks, that we say, okay, person who bought that Chinese car, that Chinese electric car, you will have to pay the United States Treasury a tax of X percent. Meaning, if it's 100%, in this case, for a while, he charged 145%. So if the car cost the importer $10,000 to import that car, when that importer goes to bring that car into the country, it has to, the United States government, for that $10,000 car, it has to pay the United States government. What that means is the base price of that car to the importer, as opposed to being $10,000, which is what China, if the China corporation charged him, it will now cost $24,500. All that money goes to the Treasury as a tax. That's what it is. The Treasury, the United States IRS gets that money. The Treasury gets that money. Not the company in China, not the corporation who imported that stuff. The government gets that money. Remember what I said, reasons for tariffs? One of the reasons is a regressive reason, which is only to raise money for the Treasury. Now, when glass bottles that a lot of small companies import, glass bottles, T-shirts, when you put 145 tariffs, that $2 T-shirt now costs you $145. That now costs you over $5. That $2 T-shirt, because of the tariff. Now he has reduced it to 30% from China. That means that $2 T-shirt now costs $2.60. So it goes up. And again, who gets all that money? Not China, but the United States Treasury collects that money. The expectation is that these price rise, the rise in price, will go directly to the consumer. And you want that rise to go to the consumer, because what you're trying to do with the tariff, you're doing it for the first two purposes I spoke about, which is to help a critical industry or to correct an unfair advantage that another country has. You want those prices to go up in the United States to make it more attractive to create a factory to start making that product. Because of the higher price, they can now make that product for a profit locally in the United States. If that price doesn't go up for the consumer would see no difference and continue to buy the same amount of that product from where? From the foreign country that it buys from. And again, there is no reason for change if the consumer doesn't see an increase in price. That's the reason it is done. So when you hear Donald Trump goes on the phone with Walmart or goes on the phone with Amazon and telling these guys to eat the tariffs, it shows that the reasons he claimed he has the tariffs is a lie. If the tariffs is to encourage manufacturing in the United States, the only way you're going to encourage manufacturing in the United States if the consumer, the end consumer who wants that specific product says, I can't want that specific product anymore because it costs me too much. And that is how tariffs are supposed to work. So contrary to what he says, he should want those prices to go up to stimulate a local American industry. But here's the problem. America is not going to start back building or making T-shirts in mass. It won't. Why? Because all this equipment that makes these T-shirts, most of it now is made overseas. So you'll have to import most of these equipments that make textiles, etc. You know, when I just came to this country, there was a factory in Brenham, Texas that made cloth for, I think it was jeans or something like that, right there on Main Street in Brenham, Texas. It was a cotton mill, and I worked at that factory pushing these big bales of cotton. I went home white with cotton fibers all over my being. That kind of stuff isn't done in the United States hardly anymore. So if you think America is going to build factories for $3 T-shirts, think again. It's not going to happen. So what it means is that's simply a permanent price increase that has no value in the United States to make its industry better, which then becomes a regressive tax on the average American citizen. citizen. What that means is the person in Timbuktu who buys Chinese t-shirts, meaning all the folks who shop at Walmart, that affects them more so than it affects the rich guy who buys some sort of a name brand t-shirt that is made locally, or a name brand t-shirt from Italy or all these other countries that have lower tariffs. Yesterday, I played what David Frum had to say, which was pretty much, tariffs hurt the poor and the middle class more so than the rich, because the middle class get a lot of its products from overseas. The middle class, most of its expenditures is in service, and most of that service does not fall under tariffs. So again, we are being hoodwinked. You are being hoodwinked. And for those, our brothers and sisters in MAGA land who support this president for these tariffs, that claim they're willing for these prices because it's going to bring back manufacturing to the United States and all that kind of stuff, I think the narrative that I just gave you can be easily corroborated, can actually prove that this guy doesn't have your interests at hand. It was just a reason, a way to raise a lot of money for the Treasury. And why does he need to raise a lot of money for the Treasury? He needs to raise a lot of money for the Treasury because the tax cut he wants to give, no Democrat will vote for it, and therefore he cannot get 60 votes in the Senate. So therefore he has to pass the bill via a process called reconciliation, which means it has to be a neutral change to the budget in such a manner that he can give that tax cut without any further changes to income taxes in a particular manner. Again, that's a way to raise a lot of money. And who does the tariff affect the most? It affects the poor and middle class. It affects his own constituency. So folks, please, let's not allow the rhetoric that goes by the president and the failure of the mainstream media to really assess how things really work. Do their job as the fourth estate to let you know exactly how things operate. Let them know. Don't fall for what we call the okie doke. Understand things. Make an informed decision. Make an informed vote. And I tell you something, the person who will lie to you about your own personal economy, how much can they really care about you? Think about that. How much can someone who lies to you, knowing that their policies are materially going to affect the vast majority of their own constituents, how much can that person care for you? And why would some of you be upset when those of us who come out and tell the truth about your Führer is there not to help themselves, but to help you protect yourself from harming yourself and your family because of lies that are being told to you. Now, when this guy lies about how big his hands are, when he lies to you about things that don't have an effect on you, that is one thing. When he lies in a manner that affects your personal economy, that affects the possibility of your kid going to school, that affects the weather, our support for the weather, and whether we will be able to stand the whatever weather events that are going to occur. Whenever he lies about the cuts that he has made that will materially affect your life, whether your kid's going to school, whether the loan that you get, the mortgage that has gone to 7% now, all these things affect you and you pay. And guess who's always the beneficiary of the expensive of what you pay? When the interest rates go up as they are right now, the rich person who is giving you that mortgage makes more money. The interest rates goes up on your credit cards. The rich person who loan you the money on your credit card makes more money and you pay more. Again, when the interest rates go up, our deficit goes up. And who pays it? You do. And who are you paying that interest to? The rich guy who got a tax cut, who loaned us back the money that he got or she got from the tax cuts and loan us back that money to spend for streets and highways and SNAP and all these other things. We constantly get hoodwinked, and we have to start making the decisions and make these decisions being informed. Again, the lies are out there. You can choose to be willfully ignorant, or you can decide, I care too much about my own family to be willfully ignorant. I wanted to clarify that on tariffs. I really wanted to clarify that because I tell you what, people are so snowed right now. Now, I found the video that I was telling you about, Michael Rudnan, I want you guys to hear this because let me first explain this. Republican policies, even as MAGA supports them, etc., are generally lies. They lie about what the policy is going to do. The only thing you can trust them for is that we don't want abortion and we don't want to give welfare. That's all they stand for, and we want to take your rights away. In Texas, our Dan Patrick pretty much went on TV, went up and insulted a reporter when he said, "Why not just restrict your not the THC to adults so that those adults who want to take it?" He said, "I don't want adults to take THC either." To which I said, wait a minute. Whatever happened to free will? You're trying to bring back prohibition. If you really want to stop something that harms kids and adults, if you really wanted to curb that, wouldn't you curb alcohol? Alcohol is something that causes men to go home and beat their wives and beat their children and kill folks as they drive drunk, etc. So much more dangerous than THC. You can have a muffin. You can have a brownie with THC, and you know what? All you get is happy and you chill. You don't want to hurt anybody, but you get a drunk like Pete Hegseth, and what you want to do is harm women, right? That's what you get. But anyhow, so that is what we know Republicans stand for. Restricting your rights, telling you how to live your life, and they want to be in your bedroom, right? But here's the thing. They know that most Americans don't stand for that. So the plan has always been, and I've been talking about this for decades. The plan has always been to get the courts, because the courts are the only major portion of the three legs that's not very democratic once they are in there. So if you own the courts, you can make any law unconstitutional, or you can give the president all kinds of powers that the Constitution doesn't really say, but you can say, that is how it works. So here is the video that I found. I went searching while the video was on, that I did several years ago. But it's an important video, and I'm setting it up right now, so bear with me a second as I do so. I'm setting her up, and I'll start it as soon as I get it here. Let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, that's the video, and here it goes. Listen to what I pointed out.
That piece that I played on the Constitution. When we talk about the merits of the Constitution, what I wanted to do with that argument about the Constitution and what Trump via McConnell is doing with the Supreme Court, with the district courts, with the circuit courts, is to explain something important to you. It's not enough for us to go out there and just say we want to win the presidency or we want to win this Congress seat or anything. We have to change the mold of the country, the psyche of the country, because there's so much that they know that most people don't. Like when McConnell is playing with the Supreme Court and playing with the district court and playing with the circuit court, a lot of people sit back and they don't think it has much impact on them. We are trying to establish a more perfect union. We are trying to establish a system that works for everybody, which means we no longer allow a plutocracy to take it all. But you know what? The American population is wising up, but they're already preparing for a wise population, and they're using the Constitution to prepare for that wise population. How so? Everybody who studied their government classes understand there's a judiciary, a legislative, and a executive. The legislative makes the laws, the executive executes the laws, and the judiciary interprets the law's constitutionality. Well, if we are going to win all these new elections and we are going to win the presidency, the only help the plutocracy could possibly have is the only undemocratic portion of the American system that was designed constitutionally, and that is the judiciary. The judiciary can take any piece of law that the legislative branch passes and the executive branch affirms, and say a corporation who now owns all these judges can now say, well, that law is unconstitutional and it then cannot be implemented. We already have gerrymandering that has made the country a country that's not ruled by most. California has probably 40 million people or more, however million they have. And some one of the Dakotas have a few 100,000. And both of them get 2 senators. Wow, that's a lot of power for a little bit of people. And now the Supreme Court is preeminent. The Supreme Court is undeniably the most powerful branch of the government, and a lot of people don't tell you that. They always talk about, oh, we have the checks and balances. There ain't no check against the Supreme Court unless we're going to then implement the difficult thing that's called impeachment. But constitutionally, you can only impeach judges with either 3/5 or 3/4. I don't remember the number, which means you have to have a hell of a supermajority in Congress to do what you have to do. So, folks, the way they intend to destroy the Roman intelligent middle class is to do the constitutionally undemocratic thing, and that is to use the courts.
And that is something that I hope everybody understands. This stuff was all planned. This stuff was all planned. It was never a democracy. It was never even a true, what's the word that Republicans like to use whenever we tell folks about it being a democracy? It is, what do you call that? What do you call that? They like to say, well, we are a democratic republic, not a democracy. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is the one person, one vote is going away with the Supreme Court. And yes, Carl Cox, we're live today. Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia. Yes, we're live today. So that is what we are up to. And the only way to get around this is massive, massive, massive popular support. Massive popular, we are going to have to start doing things like an entire day of striking to let the folks understand that the people have power. But right now, they're trying to control all our avenues of communications. They're trying to do all these other things to do that. But anyhow, let's see what we got here. Republicans have been consistent on issues of personal responsibility and freedom. Along with that, they often call states' rights, especially if we're talking about things that they don't support, such as marijuana use, women's reproductive freedoms, and economic health care agendas that benefit the people. Exactly. And Carl Cox said, yeah, I'm live today, Carl Cox. Anthony Lefranco says, democracy needs a clarion. Yeah. Michael says, would system start? Oh, that's a conversation between the two of you. But yeah, guys, so we have to understand exactly what is happening out here. We have to understand what is happening. U2247 says, I still say that ranting against 47 is useless. Better to confront his gang. Frontal attack on 47 will not work for same reason it did not work on attacking Hitler. We instead should frontally and tangentially confront those around 47. Miller, Patel, Noam, Rubio, and all the others. None of these are really that adept. I agree. Whenever I speak about Trump, I am not talking about Trump the person, because Trump the person is fairly dumb. Trump the person is naive. He has severe mental problems, unstable. So when I'm talking about what we have to do, it doesn't have to do with Trump. It more has to do with Trumpism. And that Trumpism, as you would say, E2247, is everything around. So I do agree with what you just said. Bruce Pollard said Rubio is a disappointment. How can, Rubio has been a disappointment from the time he endorsed Donald Trump. And the reason why, Bruce, is how can somebody talk like that about your wife and you wholeheartedly not only support him, endorse him, and then go serve in his administration? I know his wife has to look at him as a little man. You remember it used to be little Marco? I know his wife probably looks at him as little Marco. Because how can you go deal with that person who's talked about your wife that way? All right, let's get back to business. And the business was, will the Democrats use the weapon given to them by the GOP to stop the big bad bill? Not the big beautiful bill, but the big bad bill. And by the way, folks, if you have friends on Substack or friends on YouTube or whatever, share and tell them, come on, join us either in live or on the podcast. Anyway, by voting to overrule the Senate parliament last week, the chamber Republicans handed their political opponents a procedural weapon that could be used to hold off or even kill the House passed reconciliation package that's central to President Donald Trump's legislative agenda. And how is that, you might ask? The question is, will Senate Democrats take advantage? They should. They should. Last Thursday, Senate Republicans used the filibuster proof Congressional Review Act to approve a resolution revoking a federal waiver that allowed California to set tougher vehicle pollution standards. In doing so, the GOP majority ignored the parliamentarians' determination that the waiver did not qualify as a rule subject to the CRA. Both before and after the vote, Senate Democrats warned then Republicans' colleagues that move could come back to bite them in the future. Is this really the path we want to go down? Senator Shelton Whitehouse, Democrat of Rhode Island, said, asked in floor speech earlier this month. A future Democratic administration could submit every oil and gas lease issued since 1996 as a rule as the subject of disapproval resolutions. Is it worth going nuclear, knowing full well the Pandora's box this would open? The American Prospect's David Dayen wrote Wednesday that because the Senate operates largely on precedent, Republicans' vote effectively means that virtually any action the executive branch takes could be construed as a rule and therefore subject to fast track congressional review. For this reason, Democrats could subject the Senate to time consuming resolution votes repeatedly to such a degree that the Senate would not have time to do anything else for the rest of this session of Congress, which is what they should do. Protect the American people. Do it. All right. While Democrats are in the Senate minority, it takes 30 senators to force a CRA resolution of disapproval to the floor of of the upper chamber. Under CRA procedures, any senator may make a non-debatable motion to proceed to consider the disapproval resolution on the floor. If that privileged motion is approved, the disapproval resolution would be subject to up to 10 hours of debate. Ha! Now multiply that by 1,000 resolutions, and you see you get the amount that you get to do it. Now this requires stamina, this requires resolve, and this requires doing things that Republicans have always done. Remember what they did to Obama? Remember how they held his judge, etc.? This is what needs to be done. The question is, will the Democrats do it? Before I move on, the telephones are open 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Anybody wants to talk about any other particular issue? Paul Fleming says, video show ICE using a new tactic of dismissing migration cases, including for innocent people, then immediately arresting people outside the courtroom. This is sickening. Now, lots of innocent immigrants will fear to go to their hearings in courts. Let me tell you why they're doing that. Donald Trump has no way to catch the deporter in chief because things were never as bad as that. So, as it turns out, right now, guess what's happening? He needs to pad his numbers and he is unable to do so. He needs to pad his numbers and he is unable to do so. It's a shame, isn't it? But there's another piece that I want to play for you all that I picked up today. It is a TikTok that is important. And I want to play that for you if I can find it. If I can find it, si lo puedo encontrar. And here we go. And here we go. Here we go. Hold on. Let's go ahead and do it right this minute. All right, I think this is
a post.
there we go.
4 years, people have been.
Oh, not that. Come on, there we go.
Since I last left you last night, the Trump family has made millions upon millions of dollars off of the presidency of the United States, which means off of your back as United States citizens who vote in elections, who live in a free and fair country, or what is supposed to be a free and fair country. But they have made millions upon millions of dollars just since I left your last stream last night when we clocked out, dialed out at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I just want to remind you of the money that the Trump family is making on your back off of the presidency and the means by which they are doing it. Roll it.
Lil Donnie's bribes, extortions, and corruption. On January 1st, 2025, Donnie launched his meme coin, offering exclusive access to the president for those who give the most money directly to Donald Trump. The same day, Chinese crypto investor Justin Sun invests $30 million in Donnie's crypto firm. As soon as Donnie was in office, he ended an SEC investigation into Sun. To repeat, Justin Sun paid Donald Trump $30 million to end a legitimate investigation into his business practices. The Saudi public investment firm paid for 4 years' worth of golf tournaments at Donnie's golf clubs. All that money went directly to Donnie's pockets. The Trump family launched World Liberty Financial, to which Donnie received 75% of all profits. Millions flowing directly into his pocket from anyone who wants to pay for any reason. On March 3rd, Donnie launches yet another crypto coin. Strange that he needs so many of them. This coin is quickly invested in by the Abu Dhabi government to the tune of $20 billion. Yes, another Middle Eastern government funneled more money right to Trump. In April, Donald Trump publicly backs legislation that would benefit his personal crypto company. At the same time, he launches yet another crypto coin called Melania. At this point, in under 4 months, these crypto ventures have become 40% of his wealth. But it's not just crypto. Trump is also making money on brand new properties in India, Serbia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Uruguay. These are all licensing deals, meaning government-backed developers paid Donnie for the use of his name. It costs him nothing and nets him hundreds of millions of dollars. And of course, who can forget the $400 million plane and $5 billion golf course gifted to him by the country of Qatar? By becoming president and exploiting that position in direct defiance of the Constitution, Donnie has become wealthy in the way he used to pretend to be, through shady foreign investments directly from governments attempting to curry favors from the president with bribes.
This is what every news organization should be doing every single day, is uncovering and exposing the corruption that is the Trump crime family. Since I last...
That is what every news station should be doing. But they're not. Think about how often Fox News and MSNBC covered those other things with regards to with regards to him, right? But I have another one to show you guys. One more. There are good, intelligent folks
Have been debating about whether or not
Donald
Trump is a racist.
on TikTok, right? But I want let me go ahead and do this one because this one is important. Oh, Magner's calling. Let me answer Magna first. Where is it? Hold on, Magner. I'm coming. I can't find it. There we go. All right, there we go. Magner, talk to me.
Hey, I appreciate the video. I've been researching some of that myself, and the big question I have out of that, or big statement that I have, is we've been told that the Supreme Court ruled that while any president is fulfilling his duty as a president and working as a president, he isn't subject to incarceration or any sort of backlash from the Justice Department. Is that correct?
That is true. That is correct. Yeah, he got immunity.
Okay. So he's got immunity for doing things as a president in his official role. How is closing the doors, not allowing anybody to know who you're meeting, and perpetuating a business that has nothing to do with the presidency in something that you're doing that's protected? It shouldn't be. It's obviously for his businesses and his family. It is not a presidential act. And if it was, then we should be able to know who was there.
Therefore,
he's breaking the law.
Yeah, I mean, look, but the problem is he's only breaking the law if the Supreme Court acknowledges that that based on the Constitution, he is breaking the law. And based on the congressional statute, he's breaking the law. And since they say he is immune while he's doing anything in office, I mean, they gave this guy they gave this guy a logical king pass, and I think people should be screaming. It's like Yvette Avery-Hera just said that video needs to be on repeat. People have to get upset and mad because I wonder if I should say if, but the next president is going to be a Democrat. I wonder if he's going to get away with all the things Donald Trump is getting away, not only from the Supreme Court, but from the media. And that's why Don Lemon says this is something the media should be covering every day. Do you remember when they were covering Hillary Clinton? It was mail, email all day long. We should be talking Bitcoin, crypto all day long, but we're not. We're not. And the question is why? Why do you think? Anybody? Why? Why, Patrick?
I just don't see how you can clock out as a president and then tell everybody that what you're doing is for your own personal benefit, but then not be subjected to scrutiny.
Actually, you nailed it. Look, it's funny, right? Because here's what he says. All right, he says when they asked at the press conference what he's doing, she said he is on his own time. Well, when he's on his own time, it seems like immunity should not apply there, right?
I agree.
If immunity doesn't apply when he's on his own time, it seems like at that point he should be sued immediately. In other words, we are suing him for the time between this time and the other time. Since he said he wasn't the president then, he was on his own time. Out of his mouth, but they're not going to do it. Look, Patrick, let me tell you what I don't understand. I don't understand how people get certain types of privileges to do what they're able to do, right? If anybody is honest, if you saw Obama do that, if you saw Hillary Clinton do that, it would be the end of the world. But again, this is Donald Trump. And there is something about the plutocracy that doesn't want to go after, and these are my thoughts. I don't think they want to go under Donald Trump because what Donald Trump is doing in the open is what the leaders of our plutocracy do behind closed doors. And I think that is the reason why it is so hard to go after him. What he is doing is no different than what the plutocracy does behind doors. Think about what they do overseas. Think about what they do to the American employee. I mean, it's the same thing. They just know how to do it with class. Donald Trump is classless. So I think that's the reason why it's not shocking to a whole lot of them. What can I say? Anything else, my brother?
Yeah, the THC band. I think at least 2 years ago,
Yeah.
polls are showing that this state, that the people of this state, more than half of them were moving towards legalization. And so for the Republican Party to turn around and see that, the first thing that they did was they made it to where no districts or counties could put it up for vote. They struck that down. So they took democracy away from a choice that we had.
Exactly.
Then the billionaires that decided that they don't like what you're doing behind closed doors and feel that they can tell you what to do, they further pushed it by saying that you shouldn't be able to get this at a gas station or anything. And there are some problems with it, but banning it isn't a good idea. There were third party laboratories checking this, so it was safer than what you can get in a clandestine environment.
Mm-hmm.
That also decreased crime around it. The business now will go back to the cartel, and it will go back to the Mexican cartel.
Yes.
And some of the people that wanted this was the alcohol commissions, and so they invested part in this. When Colorado legalized THC for recreational use, highway deaths went down. Overall, alcohol deaths went down. The number of DUIs didn't decrease, but they didn't increase at the traditional rate that they were at. So it saved lives. It also gave people jobs. There's 58,000 jobs in Texas around the production of hemp and the sale of hemp.
Yeah, I mean, it is what they're doing is completely anti-Republican, anti-conservative. It's amazing. They are actually putting a lot of businesses out of business. I mean, these are people that are. I mean, there are businesses that were built on THC. They're out of business now,
Yeah.
or they will be.
And
They can't
and
do
they thought
anything
they were
else.
doing the right thing, and they thought that they were going to follow the law and everything was going to be fine. But the reason, one of the reasons why I brought this up is both with the schooling and with this THC, there's a clear desire from the people of Texas, and the Republican Party is essentially saying screw off.
And you know what is so funny? If the Democrats would spine up, they would create you just named the two very important things. They would create a campaign around THC, as well as what do you call that for school, as vouchers. They would create a voucher THC campaign and tie it in a knot with democracy. Because every stoner and non-stoner will understand THC. Every mother who wants a good education for her kid and a father will understand vouchers. And you have a new building block for the Democratic Party, in my opinion, in Texas. THC vouchers. THC vouchers. And in the city, you add a dosage of environmentalism for Croissant and all these other all these other things that's happening in Texas right now. But again, we have to spine up, and Democrats going to have to decide whether they want to fight or they're just going to let these guys run ramshot over them, right?
Yes, sir.
So. But anyway, hey, don't forget we're on in a few days, buddy.
The 7th.
Yes. We have to decide where to go, but we'll talk about that offline. All right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Anything else we need to do? You want to add before end?
No, just everybody should understand that this THC ban is going to make things less safe for you, your kids, your highways, and it's going to increase your auto insurance.
But here's the other thing that they want to do. Wait, Patrick, hold on. Here's the other thing that they want. Here's the other thing they want to do. Think about this. THC is going to criminalize because the guys that eating these brownies now, they're not going to stop eating these brownies. They're going to just go across state lines and get the brownies. They're going to get the jelly beans. They're going to get all of that. They're going to buy it and cops are going to be posted across New Mexico and Louisiana and these places, and they're going to spot check cars. And you know who are going to be spot checked the most? People of color coming in with these things, and then it's gonna prop up the prison industrial complex, and it's gonna be yet another way to criminalize again a whole bunch of folks for doing something that just they want to do. It's sad,
I,
but that's what's gonna
I
happen.
agree.
Thank you, my brother. Have a great
I
one.
haven't done.
Go ahead.
You too. I haven't double checked, but I need to double check the source. But it's possible that they might have had their first fentanyl laced marijuana death a few days ago.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Okay. When you validate it, let us know. All right.
I will.
Take care, buddy. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, folks. I have one. I think I want you to see this video about racism. This was a good one that I found. Hold 1 second. Let me get to it, and then we'll be right there. Come on, come on.
I don't care whether or not he holds racist views. I don't care what. For years, people have been debating about whether or not Donald Trump is a racist. And truthfully, I don't care. I don't care if Trump is a bigot on a heart level. I don't care whether or not he holds racist views. I don't care whether or not he uses the N-word. What I care about is power, policy, and practice. And over the last 100 days, Donald Trump has used his power to create policies and practices with a very clear racial agenda. A racial agenda that is far more clear than his economic agenda or his foreign policy agenda. Donald Trump's first 100 days have been defined by bigotry, and I want to look back on a few of those days. On days 1 through 7, he issued several executive orders designed to deem inclusion illegal, setting off a countrywide scramble to undo diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments or face penalty from the federal government. On day 11, he blamed a DC plane crash on DEI.
They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program.
Around day 70, he purged 381 books from the Naval Academy's library, a significant number of them written by Black authors. On day 94, he deemed it unlawful to track the impact of his policies on marginalized communities. Which really matters, because on day 99, he signed this executive order, unleashing America's law enforcement. This order undermines police misconduct accountability efforts and provides excess military equipment to local police departments. The reality of over-policing in Black and marginalized communities means that a lot of Black people and poor white people will be on the other side of that military equipment. But remember day 94. He deemed it unlawful for the federal government to track the way that this will impact those same marginalized communities. In just 100 days, Trump has already done the kind of social fabric damage that I fear will take decades to repair. But maybe that was the point. For years, people have been debating about whether or not Donald Trump is a racist. And truthfully, I don't care.
Of course, that was the point. Of course, that was the point. This is so well done by Mother Jones. I couldn't have said it any better. I could not have said it any better. Anyway, I can take one more call before we close this baby down. One more call before I close this baby down. If anybody else wants to call in. Otherwise, I'll be getting ready to do my ask. Maybe make your own TikTok. Oh, did you just say what I think you said? Did you just say maybe I should make my own TikToks? Oh my God. He just said the word. He implied that I didn't do my job. So I tell you what I'll do for you, sir. Maybe if you would follow some of the work that I do, you would actually know by now that in fact, and I'm, when I'm trying to talk and say certain things at the same time, I miss out. So here is the deal. Should I make my own TikToks? Really? Should I make my own TikToks? Are you looking at the screen right now? I've made thousands of TikToks. I make TikToks every day. Check them out. Maybe you'll learn something, my dear brother Eric Hayes. So no, I'm all over TikTok. I'm all over Instagram. Okay? I'm all over Telegram, sir. So yeah, I do it also, and people also that redistribute my TikToks as well. Thank you so kindly. But you know what? If I see somebody who made a very smart TikTok, I'm going to put that person's very smart TikTok on and also promote that person's work to help that person go viral as well. Okay, so thank you, my brother. But I think we're doing pretty good, sir. Okay, all right. I think it's time for me to go ahead and do my ask before we shut this baby down. Brother Ray Brackens, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I just want to say thank you for that very thoughtful interview. I actually went and watched the full interview with you
Mm-hmm.
and Lena Hidalgo. And,
Yes.
I just want to share a story while I got some time. You know, in 2018, I believe, I remember when I was at a rally with my
Mm-hmm.
top members and I saw a slate of candidates that we had endorsed. I wasn't a part of that process, but I did believe in the vetting process. And one of those candidates was a young 28-year-old candidate running
Mm-hmm.
for Harris County Judge named Lena Hidalgo. Now, I remember standing on that stage, her name as one of our candidates, and she gave her vision.
Yeah, continue, Ray. And she gave a great speech.
And I'm not gonna lie, I knew it was a long shot, but Harris County had enough of the Trumpism. As I know, Ed Emmett was actually pretty respected, bipartisan. And here she is, in her second term. And, I mean, I would gladly say she would deserve a third term if that's what she seeks. But,
Well,
I
you heard
mean,
what she told me.
she's
She
been
said
doing
that
it.
she's doing good, and she came on to set the record straight, and she wanted the amount of time to set the record straight, and that's what I did. Give her the time to set the record straight. But look, man, we're out of time, and I have to give brother Harry about 30 seconds or so. Okay.
All right. Hey, Brother Harry. See you
All
later.
right,
How you
Harry,
doing,
what's
brother
up?
Ray?
Come on, what's
What's
up,
up
Harry?
is I like that last bit of this call. I do care that Donald Trump is a racist. He's proven it time and time again with his views. When he was president last time, he celebrated the 4th of July up there on Mount Rushmore. I told Steve Hunter this once upon a time. His father was a member of the Klan, Fred Trump, and he believes in those racist views, and his racist views divide this country. So I do care that Donald Trump is a racist.
All right. Well, thank you, Harry. I got to go now because we're out
Okay.
of time. But thank you,
Have a
guys.
good
Y'all have a
day.
wonderful day. All right, folks. Folks, remember to please support the program. There are two ways that I would suggest that you support the program. The first way is you can actually support us via our Patreon. That is at politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. That is politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. But the best way that I think would be to become a paid subscriber to our newsletter, the Egberto Off the Record newsletter. Paid subscriber. I ask all of you who have the wherewithal to do so to please become a paid subscriber. I need about 590 more subscribers to get to the next Substack level. So if you go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, I need 590 new paid subscribers. I think I'm at 4 something, and I need 1,000 paid subscribers to actually get to this level. And then at that point as well, I can actually get me a little bit of part-time help for my videos and everything else. Otherwise, right now it's tough. But anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. Love you all. Come back tomorrow. We'll be back. And as you know, on the weekend, sometimes I come up on Substack. Something hits me, and I'll just get up on Substack and do a video. So be prepared. This weekend may just be the same as well. Before I go, I want to tell you guys I'll be on the Progressive Forum today, 6 o'clock on KPFT. I'm the guest of the host of the Progressive Forum. So I'll be there today at 6 o'clock on air, KPFT 90.1 FM. I'll see if I can get that broadcast. We'll see. Anyway, thank you so kindly. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.